Yo, what's up, YouTube? It's Brian here from Team Board Wipe with a deck profile from the Des Moines OTS Championship that I went to. I got first place. I went undefeated in Swiss, and then I won out in top 8 with the Pendulum FTK. I pulled off the FTK 4 times out of the 8 rounds. But I lost 5 die rolls, and I only lost 2 games, like, throughout the whole tournament. So, out of the 8 rounds, I 2-0'd 6 of my opponents. And I dropped game 1 twice. Once in round 1, and then once in the top 4. Okay. The deck is amazing at breaking boards, and that 6 card helps. Starving Venom is an unfair card in general, and the deck is just really consistent. So I'll go over it. It's pretty standard. It's not very different from the deck that top 16 YCS Atlanta. I don't think the main deck isn't, at least. It's pretty standard. We got 3 Purple Poison, 3 Black Fang, and then 3 Harmonizing. Those are the 9 magicians that you play, other than the Stargazer and Time Gazer. All the Dark Pendulum monsters. And then you got 3 Astro, then 3 Chrono, and then the 2 Garnets, Time Gazer and Stargazer. I do them, like, fairly often, I guess, but, like, a lot of times it doesn't matter. Unless you draw both of these, like, with Astro Chrono, that kind of sucks, but, like, that's not statistically likely, so they don't present like huge issues with causing the deck to brick. Then 3 Supreme King, Dragon, Dark Worm, 2 Gate 0, 1 Infinity. Some people are talking about trying to cut this down to like 2 or something, because they're like, you don't want to see it in your hand if you draw Dragon Shrine. But like, if you draw Dragon Shrine in this, you have 3 other cards, and if 2 of them can make scales, you have the FTK. Because of its scale effect. The scale effect is amazing, and not enough people use it. If you put it in the scale, you can add a Supreme King Gate Pendulum monster from your deck to the other Pendulum Zone. Like, it's ridiculous. It helps make the FTK really consistent, and not enough people do it. That's it for the monster lineup. I didn't play any hand traps, because hand traps don't help you FTK. And the deck is good enough at breaking boards going second. If I lost a die roll against another FTK deck, we have hand traps game 3, so hope to see him then. It's kind of how you have to play it if you want to have a consistent FTK. 3 Pot of Desires and 2 Allure. I know some people were talking about switching Allure to 3 and Pot to 2, because Allure is more than once per turn, but Pot is a +1. So if you draw a Pot off a Pot, it's still the same thing as resolving 2 Allure, because you still have the same number of cards. So, like, I think Pot at 3 is better, just because it's a +1 and Allure is not. 2 Duelist Alliance, 2 Pendulum Call, and the card that was different from the build that topped YCS Atlanta, they played Monster Reborn. I played a Star Pendulum Graph instead, because if you use Astro or Chrono's effects in the scale, and then you link away to summon Electromite, Star Pendulum Graph nets you a free card. So even with Pendulum Call, so if you drop Pendulum Call and Duelist Alliance, you can grab Star Pendulum Graph, and then you can still resolve Star Pendulum Graph. It doesn't conflict with Pendulum Call before you Pendulum Summon, and then you can get a Harmonizing if you need it. Because if you need Pendulum Call to get you scales, then you can't get Harmonizing, but Star Pendulum Graph helps you get that extra card to make the FTK more consistent. So I really liked it. I only resolved it, I think, once or twice the whole day, but in theory, I think it's really good. And then I played 1 Pendulum Paradox. I drew it once all day, and I resolved it and got the FTK because I was able to add 2 1 scales, I think. But I like, hate this card. I don't think it's like good, but I think you have to play it because I think it can help you. Like, it helps you if you like run out of resources in your hand. If you have it, you can, if you play correctly, you can make sure you can resolve it. So I think, like, if you know what you're doing, this card is really good, but like, it's really easy for bad players to screw up and then have it be dead because they didn't play their cards correctly. Then 2 Shrine, 1 Foolish. Just because even though Shrine is only once per turn, you just want to see that card because you want to get Dark Worm in the graveyard. That's the best place for it. And then triple Instant Fusion, because hard drawing this card is almost always an auto win. It's amazing. Going first, you FTK. Going second, it just makes it really easy to bait things, because going second, if you like try to do the FTK, you have a battle phase. So like you can bait their stuff, and like as long as you have like enough. Yeah, 6 cards. So if they have like 2 interruptions, you get through those. You have 4 cards to make 1 Starving Venom. And if you have Instant Fusion with that, it's just automatically game, because you burn them for 4,500, and then the Starving Venom can just swing over anything at like 60 something, 6,000 something attack. Like this deck is amazing at going second, just because of that. And Thousand Eyes Restrict if you need to bait more things, like, because Instant Fusion is amazing and Starving Venom should be banned. That's the main deck. I just 100% just net decked the YCS Atlanta build, and then decided I didn't like Monster Reborn, so I switched it. The extra deck I think is also pretty similar with a few differences. Link monsters I believe are the same except for Borload. I did not play Borload. I played 2 Electromite, 1 Zephyr Metaltron, and 1 Link Karibo. I really wanted to play Decode Talker, because I think Decode Talker is really important against Draco, but I felt like the deck was good enough to survive Draco anyway. So just these 4. Link Karibo is amazing going second, because that's like because if they have a board, they have a lot of interruptions, so it's hard to just do the standard FTK combos. So you really only need to do 1. So you Instant Fusion it out, link it away with Link Karibo, and then summon 1 Starving Venom, copy it, and then go to battle phase and win. It's amazing. And then for the Exceeds, I played just 4. Hope, Harbinger, Odd Eyes Absolute, and then Baguska and the Supreme King Dark Rebellion Dragon. And I played this because of a card on my side that I'll show you later. And it also just steals games. And if all you're playing is Dark Pendulum monsters, like, why wouldn't you play Dark Rebellion? It's amazing. It just like wins you games that you probably shouldn't win. And I didn't think there was anything else I needed more, except maybe a Tornado Dragon. But I felt like I could survive without Tornado. And I just chose to like steal games that maybe shouldn't have been winnable, because this card is ridiculous. It just makes their attack 0 and then you gain it non-targeting. Like, it's crazy. And then 2 synchros. I played Ignister and Supreme King Dragon Clearing. I didn't make either of these all day, but the reason I played Ignister over Borreload is because it's non-targeting removal, just like Borreload. But in the mirror match, I think Ignister is better because you can pop their scale and then shuffle back their thing, so it's a +2 instead of an even. Like, so I decided to play Ignister instead of Borreload. Also, it's easier to make. I didn't have to make it all day because I just had other options. Like, I would either FTK or make Vortex Harbinger going first, or going second, I would just kill them by baiting all their stuff with like Link Karibo and stuff. But I felt like this was a better option than Borreload if it were ever to come up. And then 5 fusions, 1 Vortex Dragon, because you just kind of have to, because the FTK isn't 100% consistent. So if you don't get to instant fusion, you can make Vortex Harbinger very easily and still end with 3 or 4 cards in hand, because the Supreme King Starving Venoms, when they copy Electromite, they recycle Astrographs, and then you just keep searching cards to add in your hand so you don't lose to Purple Poison Evenly Matched. But yeah, and then the 2 Starving Venoms. I wanted to play 3 because there were a couple times where an opponent Ghost Ogre to Starving Venom instead of Electromite, which is correct. Like on the first effect to copy. And I had enough resources to make a 3rd, but I didn't play a 3rd. And I actually lost a game because I didn't play a 3rd, and I couldn't It was against Invoked. Like, I made a couple other misplays. I forgot to summon Darkworm in my grave because I was so surprised that my Pendulum call didn't get ashed that I just kept going, and I Pendulum summoned, and then I was 350 short with a Darkworm in grave I could have summoned. But that game, if I had 3 Starving Venom, I just would have won first turn anyway. But there's just no room. And if they ogre it, like, then they only have 5 cards, and as long as you can like make plays, it's hard for them to win anyway. And then Thousand Eyes Restricts and Lyrilisk Independent Nightingale, the GOAT. For a long time, I thought this should be banned because this is the issue. This is the burn effect that things can copy. That's why they hit that one Tyrant Neptune or whatever. So instead of hitting all the things that can abuse this, why not just hit this? But I just kind of realized that Starving Venom is completely unfair, and this card doesn't do anything on its own. The better hit that they probably should do is Starving Venom. I don't know if they're going to, or if they do, when. But Starving Venom is an unfair card. Like, I used it to copy an Eater of Millions, and it gained, like, what, 3,700 attack. Just because we had resolved 3 Pot of Desires that game. And I just won because this card is a ridiculously easy win condition. And Thousand Eyes Restrict breaks board. So that's the extra deck. And then side deck, I don't know how much I like it, but it was okay. I played 2 rounds against Inspector Border, so the Denkos, I'm glad I put them in. I play them for Trickstar because if they don't have Reincarnation Droll, they're not going to shotgun Reincarnation. So you just summon it, and then their scapegoats are dead, their reincarnations are dead, and then you can kill them very, very easily game 2 if you're going second. And then against Paleo and the Inspector Border decks, I really like Denko Sekka. So I played 2 of them, along with 4 hand traps, 2 Ogre, 2 Droll. I didn't side Ash because I think I really wanted to have hand traps against the FTK, and I think Droll and Ogre are the best hand traps against Magicians right now. Droll is insane. I think I drolled every single mirror match that I played game 2 when I was going second, and then proceeded to kill him. And like Ogre would have done the same thing effectively. Like drawing any of these hand traps against Magicians just is almost like a guarantee for you to be able to kill them next turn. It's pretty good. And then I played 2 kaijus. I played Dogoran, and then I had to borrow a 3,300 kaiju. And I played the big kaijus because of where did I put it? Supreme King Dark Rebellion. It has disappeared. But the one that like makes them lose all of their attack and then you gain it, this one. Supreme King Dark Rebellion Dragon. Like, you kaiju over their negate, and then you swing into it with this, and it's either 5,500 or 5,800 damage. And then the rest of your monsters just attack, and you win. It's, like, really free, and, like, people play the low kaijus to make them easier to get over, but with Magicians and Dark Rebellion Dragon, if you play the big ones, it's just more damage, and they're just as easy to give over because this card is amazing. So I played Dogoran and the Machine Kaiju, I think the 3,300 one, that like you can remove 3 kaiju counters and then attack wherever. And another reason you do that is because of World Chalice and their Gamma Seals. So if you side these in going second against World Chalice, yeah, you can't kaiju over any of their stuff, but a lot of that time, their ending boards are like a Firewall and a kaiju. Like sometimes they'll have a Trigate, but not necessarily all the time. So like if you summon the 3,300 kaiju against a Gamma Seal, and you remove 3 counters for cost to activate its effect to be able to like attack every monster in the battle phase or something, then they've now only got 1 negate, and they kind of like have to negate that kaiju. Otherwise, I'm just going to go in and attack over Firewall. I'm going to attack over the Gamma Seal, and then I'm just going to win. So like it baits the World Chalice stuff, and this is I believe it's a board wipe. It never came up. Yeah, I can remove 3 kaiju counters from anyone to destroy all monsters your opponent controls. So like if you summon this against it, you remove 3 kaiju counters, and if they have 5, if they only have 4, then Gamesteel's dead, and they can't firewall it back because okay, I'll special summon it again. So like the kaijus are really good against the World Chalice boards, not because you can tribute over their stuff, but because you can special summon them, and you can remove kaiju counters from anywhere on the field, and Gamesteel can't negate their inherent summon. So they're a really, really good option against World Chalice also, which is why I played it, because I didn't want to lose to a deck that I thought was like not very good, but it won a YCS and it can make really good boards if you don't stop them. So I really, really liked the kaijus. I didn't play World Chalice, but if I would have, that would have been great. And then 2 Cyclones, 2 Wavering Eyes, just for the mirror. I didn't main them because they can like help you get to Astrograph, but like sometimes they just don't really help you get the FTK because they don't always help you get to Instant Fusion, and that's the hardest piece to get to is Instant Fusion. So I decided to side it instead. I did steal a mirror match in game 2 by wavering for 4. That was pretty clutch. But that was the only time I ever like resolved it. I resolved it once in the 3 mirror matches I played. Only one of them was an FTK, but 3 Magician mirrors. And then Cyclones are Cyclones. They're amazing. They stop you from losing to Floodgate Anti-Spell. And they're really good against the Inspector Border deck because you can usually play through 1 or 2 traps, and then if you hit their 3rd with Cyclone, or if they only have 2, you play through 1, you hit their 2nd, and then you just win. And then I played 2 D-Barrier, and I played Pendulum Hole. So instead of 3 D-Barrier, because I didn't want to draw 2 going first in the mirror, and I sided them just in case. Like, you can't always guarantee to get to Instant Fusion. So a lot of times, if you draw a D-Barrier, you flip it. If you don't FTK them, you flip it, and then you win next turn. Because then you have the extra cards. And then Pendulum Hole is searchable off Duelist Alliance. So you play one of those, 2 D-Barriers. I think it's really, really strong because the chances of you, like, bricking with these are pretty low. And Pendulum Hole is searchable. So if you draw a hand and you know you don't have the FTK, you Duelist Alliance for Pendulum Hole instead to play around Droll. Instead of Pendulum Call. And then you do Alliance for Pendulum Hole to play around Droll. And then they like have to Droll you anyway because it'd be silly not to. And then they lose a card, they can't Pendulum Summon effectively, and then you beat them next turn. So I think Pendulum Hole is a really, really strong side choice since it's searchable off Duelist Alliance. And D-Barriers are amazing because they stop more than just Pendulum. Really good against Invoked as well. So that was the deck. Shoutouts to, got a few of them. Shoutouts to Bryce and Tyler for lending me cards because I left my Pot of Desires, my Drolls, and my Cyclones at home. And I didn't have a way to get them because I drove a little bit for this event. I don't live in Des Moines. I just made the trip out because I used to play with a bunch of guys there. And they lent me some cards so I could actually play effectively. Shoutouts to Team Board Wipe for talking theory with the deck. One of my buddies, Joe, and I have been trying to come up with the best way to play this, and his insights have been pretty helpful. And shout out to my biggest fan, Izzy. I don't know where she is right now. She's not really around. I think she's eating. But she's the best cat in the world, and she's always got my back. So yeah, just let me know what you think. If you guys have any like amazing ideas to make the FTK more consistent while we still actually have it, and they haven't like E-banned Starving Venom, let me know in the comments. Thanks a lot.